Today, the United States Supreme Court held that to deny same-sex couples the right to marry is unconstitutional. And when states also refuse to recognize legal marriages between same-sex couples that were granted in other jurisdictions, that is also unconstitutional. So states like Michigan that had a marriage ban, they can no longer do so. And now all 50 states have to permit same-sex couples the right to get married. Well, first of all, now same-sex couples can go down to their local county clerk's offices and they can apply for a marriage license. There shouldn't be any delay in the state of Michigan with regards to issuing marriage licenses. That also means that the state of Michigan has to recognize their legal marriages once they've been solemnized and they received a marriage certificate, and the state has to accord the full rights and benefits that are afforded to legally married couples. So that would mean such things as that if you die without a will, that your spouse inherits a certain share of your estate, that if you're medically incapacitated, that your spouse can make medical decisions for you with regards to your treatment. That means if a child is born during the marriage, that both spouses should be recognized on the birth certificate. That also means that spouses should be able to jointly adopt their children. There is more than 1,100 federal and state benefits, protections, rights, and responsibilities associated with a legal marriage. And now same-sex couples will be accorded that. Another example of a right is if you work for an employer that provides for spousal benefits, let's say spousal insurance coverage, that means your employer has to recognize your marriage as well. While this is an incredibly important step forward towards LGBT equality, we still have some more work to do in our state. Our state civil rights laws don't cover the categories of sexual orientation or gender identity, and that means that LGBT people are still at risk for discrimination in employment, housing, public accommodations. And so we want to amend those civil rights laws to include those categories. Another important issue that we need to work on is we're seeing somewhat of a backlash from the legislature in response to the gains that have been made on marriage equality. And we're seeing an effort to right discrimination in the law. In other words, to allow people and businesses to discriminate based on so-called religious beliefs, when they're engaging not in religious behavior but in non-religious activity. And that's a very dangerous, slippery slope that could undercut and undermine the civil rights protections that we already have. So we need to be very vigilant and responsive to these legislative attempts, and we need to put in all our efforts to try to defeat them. We also have policies that are very harmful to the transgender community in our state of Michigan. We have the Secretary of State's gender marker change policy for driver's licenses and state IDs. Our policy in Michigan is kind of an outlier from most other states. It makes it virtually impossible for most transgender people in Michigan to obtain accurate Michigan identity documents. In addition, Michigan has a Medicaid policy that excludes payment for medications for transgender people, and we have a lot of problems with private insurance companies refusing to provide any coverage to transgender people for any medical care related to their gender identity status. So we need to work on changing that. We also need to do more work to ensure that all young people are free from harassment and bullying while in school, so they can concentrate on their studies and not worry about their safety. And we also want to ensure that that we address both the economic and racial disparities that are inherent in also the LGBT community, to make sure that everyone is given an opportunity to be successful and to have economic opportunities that are accorded to a very small group of the LGBT community. Have a little concern about that. The way the media has been portraying, the struggle for LGBT equality is that once we have marriage, everything's already taken care of. And once again, that was a very historic decision. It's a very big step forward, but there's still more work to be done. And we have to continue to engage and energize our community to be involved in these other issues. We need to take this momentum from the victory on marriage equality and put this into the other issues that are currently facing our community. We can't underestimate this incredibly historic decision. There are many people in the LGBT community who never thought in their lifetime they would see the day when there is marriage equality in all 50 states for same-sex couples. So this is a momentous and monumental decision, and there's much, much to celebrate about today. And we need to parlay that success on this issue into tackling other issues to truly ensure that every LGBT person in the state of Michigan is not denied the same dignity and rights accorded to other Michigan residents.